In 2014, I got married to the love of my life. It was a simple ceremony. I wore hand-crocheted white lace, and he showed up en natural. I took him on that day, for better, for worse, for lusher and lesser, in evolution and extinction, to love and nourish until death made us one. He took me in awareness and ignorance, as presence and in personhood, as part of and apart from, to feed and support until I decayed into his embrace. My husband and I have been through good times and bad, endured ghosting and oversharing, separation and therapy, but somehow we solved for a healthy state of union that was balanced. However, I'm getting ahead of my story. I met him at birth, but it wasn't until the 4th grade when I read the Trials of Life trilogy and watched a lot of Explorer and Captain Planet that I got reintroduced to him in this personal, seductive, descriptive, poetic way. So you could say that Sir David Attenborough, National Geographic, and TBS were my Cupid, dating app, and matchmaker. My love and I brought a lot of personal baggage when entering the relationship, as is to be expected. I brought myopic exes, consumerism, pollution, non-biodegradable trash, the usual. He brought mass extinctions, non-renewable resources, deadly pathogens, and natural disasters. I mean, nobody is perfect, and every relationship has its challenges. Most of my disagreements with him have been about our age difference. He's been around a little longer than me, I won't lie. My timeline dates back 3 decades. He boomed 4.6 billion years ago. So, okay, boomer, what I lack in years, I make up for in life hacks. I know what you must be wondering. Did we miss a meme? When did Earth become a man? What happened to Goddess Gaia, Mother Earth? Please. There is no way the Earth is feminine. Stay with me. You must be thinking the Earth is a womb, a cradle, a nurturing, fertile myrtle. But no, the Earth's true origin story was all about flatulence, violence, and inner turbulence. I mean, there were like explosions, acid, dust, open tar pits, geological lava lamps all over the place. I mean, if that doesn't spell man cave, what does? So clearly, the Earth was far too unstable, self-absorbed, and self-destructive to be a woman. I must confess that the Earth makes me feel like we are responsible for all of his erratic behaviors and extreme outbursts. And now what, he tries to pass off these conditions and symptoms on me, on us, like it's new to him. Typical male entitlement. He thinks everything revolves around him, as if. And while I get why seeing the Earth being overlooked, overworked, exploited, taken for granted, and constantly dismissed could begin to hint at the obvious XX geno-pheno stereotype, but just consider for a moment that the majority of his constitution is mantle, and he man-spews it all over the place because he doesn't know how to self-soothe mommy issues much. And note to self, does not perform well under pressure. I can only hope that clarifying Earth's gender for you all will inspire the patriarchy and Wall Street to finally step up for, respect, and care for one of their own. So Earth has gotten bit fussy. He blames me for my decisions, which apparently impact his physical health. Like, my frequent flyer status gives him acid reflux. Me eating steak causes him to bloat. And when I Amazon Prime, it just gives him gas. So he's proving to be a pretty high-maintenance partner. He also pins what my predecessors, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma and grandpa have done to him on me. Talk about holding a grudge. He blames me for my kind's past choices, like the agricultural revolution. He was okay with the Stone Age because we were mostly just feng shuiing rocks, but he did throw the industrial era and population explosion in my face. So, two can play that game, sir. I blame him for botflies, mosquitoes, volcanic eruptions, humidity, infectious diseases, and death. That's right. I hold my own in this connection, like Sally when she met Harry. Earth is the original disaster artist. Step aside James Franco as Tommy Wiseau. This year alone, Earth garnered a lot of press and publicity for losing his cool, which is raising sea levels, sinking island nations, destroying beach vacations worldwide, and ruining the real dream of retiring to Florida. I am a city bird, guys, born and raised by vertical buildings and the grid. It's probably why I love nature so much. It is so messy and hard to contain, kind of like my belongings in a studio apartment. When I met Earth, I was a hardcore New Yorker. So it's true what they say, opposites do attract. And he would awaken to the dawn chorus. My morning alarm was an orchestra of horns hitting on a double-parked FedEx truck. But at the end of the day, Earth just gets me. I get him too. After all, we're cut from the same cloth, or the same fabric of space-time. But let's not split hairs or strings. Speaking of space, Earth and I both have exes who shattered us. Kind of also integrates chaos theory there. So neither of us is doe-eyed about how difficult a real committed relationship can be, especially not after listening to Super Soul Sundays by Oprah. His previous partner, Thea, nearly destroyed him. They had to separate and keep at a distance from one another. I then learned that she changed her name to the Moon, and now she's his personal stalker, constantly orbiting him, changing up his tidal zones. Consequently, I have to keep a close eye on her. But Earth gets possessive of me too. However, I can't blame him. He's justified. Guys, don't judge me, but I did look up Mars, okay? And I was wondering if he could be cultivated. Unfortunately, I got caught red-handed. When I decided to commit to Earth, all my friends warned me. They were like, girl, he's got way too many red flags. Climate change, biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, plastic pollution. But I was so keen on being his savior in his darkest hour. Role play much? I wanted to be the International Monetary Fund to his developing nation self. And that is how you get into a lopsided, unhealthy relationship dynamic. So, Earth thinks we humans have been embracing climate change the way we do hot yoga. While initially it feels like we're undergoing both menopause and chemo at once, over time we warm up to it. Especially with the right Spotify playlist, we adapt to any temperature setting. But that is just not the case for his wild family. They need Earth to be a little more stable than an IKEA table that was put together by a hot glue gun. After all, they plan their rations and migrations around him being as predictable as seasonal depression. Earth has developed this bizarre nervous tic called the butterfly effect. Way to source responsibility, hon. I rent an SUV in Hawaii, and what he burns down Australia To what? Teach me cause and consequence, or maybe to get me to cough up for a Tesla. I mean, he's got good taste. I just don't know if I can afford to do right by him all the time. Also, a bit of a dramatic campaign to run in a relationship. What, I don't vote wisely with my wallet and he'll just set himself on fire. His temper tantrums have gotten out of hand, particularly with the Category 4 hurricanes and tropical cyclones we've been bracing for off late. Storms clearly fueled by methane, carbon dioxide, an unchecked ego, and testosterone. Earth has a short fuse. 2 degrees is all we get. And even that is to our detriment. Policymakers responding to his ultimatums and tipping points with denial and hubris are basically making Earth the fire festival. Except instead of a few wealthy hipsters enduring a couple of days of scarcity and loss that results in a traumatizing yet compelling Netflix documentary, this is going to result in a global ecological and economic collapse that affects everyone across the board. Earth will rebrand the Fire Festival as a franchise experience and make crying out for help as useful as calling Equifax's customer line. The good thing about being involved with Earth is that I no longer have to self-mutilate. That means no plucking, waxing, shaving, exfoliating, or laser treatments. Dating men in my own species means I have to groom myself more frequently than a chimp trying to ascend social status. Being with Earth has meant I can just waltz about like a heathen goddess. I found it so weird that in order to be attractive to the opposite sex in my species, I needed to be minus a layer of epidermis and about 99.8% of my hair. 0.2% of which has to be styled for over an hour to defy the physics of gravity and maintain volume all night, using products that should just be called what they are: hair Viagra. And maybe that's what traditional Chinese medicine markets need: more hair products, or my highly flammable upright coif. Because that would have the same lack of impact on male virility as ingesting rhino horn, pangolin scales, and fingernails. Speaking of wildlife trafficking, serious concern of our times, did you know that we lose an elephant every 15 minutes? A number that really came to weigh on me when I was dating men in my own species, because every time I went out to dinner, I would wonder to myself by the time I got to dessert if this guy I was sitting across was worth the 6 elephants. Invariably, he was not. Hence, married the planet. At least Earth and I share the same love languages, science, and statistics. And while with my species, I had to adopt the life hack, shave what you show. You know that thing when you wear an outfit and literally shave around it? Well, with Earth, when I'm on expedition in his arms, I can just live up to my true primate potential. I unconditionally accept Earth, too, in his most untamed, authentic self-expression. So, yes, at his worst, he can be barbed, prickly, bug-infested, and venomous. Yes, a botfly might impregnate my arm, or a wild dolphin might just crap in my face, but every relationship has its risks. For a while, things did get more codependent because we lost sight of our interdependence. But Deepak Chopra's 21-day meditations on love really brought us back into perspective, and I got to understand the importance of being whole on your own. It dawned on me then that someone who's whole is self-aware, self-contained, and self-evident, rather like a full bladder. There was a time when Earth was as popular as a Kardashian. And when he was pictured as the pale blue dot, there was just so much buzz around it. So Earth was briefly grateful that as a species, we began to see his significance. However, we suffer from crippling ADD. So we got sidelined by selfies, selfie sticks, and Bitcoin. Our relationship with the planet has since devolved and has tragically become as impersonal as health insurance. as non-conclusive as a juice cleanse, and as detached as currencies to national commons. But the time to avoid responsibility is over. As Tim Gunn's arrival on Project Runway announces, last-minute panic is upon us, and whiners, it's time to make it work. My marriage tragically involves all of you. And while as his wife, I can have his back, I've come to see that where he and we differ the most is when it comes to life. He seems intent on perpetuating it, and we seem both suicidal and homicidal as a species. We don't want to do that easy thing of just coexisting. We would rather cause the apocalypse and develop a Silicon Valley patch for that problem. Give it a cool contemporary tech name like de-extinction, a really expensive solution that essentially combines anthropocentric arrogance with cloning and hybridizes that with the plot of Stephen King's Pet Sematary. We push life to the brink. Earth pushes life to think. We take extinction to the bank. Earth takes evolution up a rank. I made that Dr. Seuss rap for you lot, just so you can get this point. We are a keystone species, and if we were intelligent and acted with integrity to protect our whole self, that self would come to encompass every species our lives depend on, from bees to blue whales. Instead, most of my extended family is at odds with life itself, like bipedal Ebola, pushing the planet to where even asteroids and cyanobacteria didn't dare to a complete midlife meltdown. In-laws, no wonder you guys have a bad rap. Evidently, some members of my Homo sapien family act so unintelligently that they make flatworms look upright, while others of my kind have been meditating so much that they've become one with the Force. Unfortunately, all of us are bound to the same end, to the same fate. So unless the enlightened Jedis in the upper canopy turn the light on for the Jabba the Hutt clones slithering down below, the canopy will get burned or cut down by these nematodes to make more room for tooting livestock. Naturally, the burden of these colossal concerns came to weigh on Earth and I, and soon we got caught up in the classic toxic triangle. But unlike the love triangles on Jerry Springer, it just failed to pique public interest. I spent a lot of sleepless nights mulling over a helplessly flailing present and a difficult, failing future, marriage. About as difficult as P90X for a couch potato, except the Earth is more forgiving than a fitness craze. That's when I discerned that it's not about fixing, saving, or protecting him. Rather, it was about doing those things for my own self, healing my own past traumas and dramas, so I could change and show up as my resolved whole, and trust in his capacity to do the same. As Albert Einstein suggested, we cannot solve a problem with the same mindset and thinking that gave rise to it. The more I have worked on my own self, the better my relationship has gotten with Earth. I now recognize that Earth is complex, rich in character, chiseled, layered, self-sufficient, capable of balance, and surviving with or without anyone, even me, his partner. Earth is George Clooney. But his fate and future is not just up to me, his missus. We must each take it upon ourselves to do better. We must stop fighting for our way of life and start fighting for life itself. The time has come to rise above being a part of the whole to being whole within. Although you've seen no evidence of this, try to embody a functional federal government. Lastly, I should mention, Earth and I would like to have our vows renewed in 18 years for our first non-precious metal anniversary, and I personally would like to definitely not enter the dating loop again, so would you each evolve your engagement so I can save my marriage? I get he's my husband, but no matter how you cut this pie, he's your home slice. Thank you.